All right, let's check out these Game of the Year nominees. Game of the Year nominees. Okay, Black Myth, Final Fantasy, Erdtree, Astrobot. What the hell is Balatro? Yeah, it looks like a fun time waster. Might as well. Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's all right. It's fun. I just don't really see it being that much of a time sink. Don't play Balatro. Not because it's a bad game. It's a phenomenal game. But you shouldn't play it if you value the concepts of, say, free time or productivity. This game actually took me by surprise. I've heard like a thing or two about it through the year, passing mentions on the internet as a whole and all that. Never really thought much about it. I saw some screenshots and thought, well, it's a card game. I like card games well enough, but this one isn't really piquing my interest right now. Then the Game Awards nominees were announced, and I saw that Balatro was nominated for Game of the fucking Year. So at that point, I'm like, okay, this game's got something special. Generally, I don't really give a shit about the Game Awards. That's mostly because I hyper-focus on like 1 or 2 games for a 6-month period, and I don't really have time to play the types of games that get nominated for the Game Awards. In fact, Balatro is the only game on this year's nominee list that I've actually played. But I digress. Balatro is fantastic. I would argue it's one of those games that could be considered practically perfect. It may not be for everyone. No game should be. But it knows exactly what it wants to be, and it gives 110% to that concept. Everything is on point. The art style, the animations, the overall feel, the easy to learn, hard to master nature, the entirety of the gameplay, the progression, the frustration of fumbling a run, all of it. And I don't even have any criticisms beyond like game hard, but every single aspect ties together perfectly with no fluff or annoying bullshit or loose threads anywhere to be seen. To give a rundown on Balatro if you don't know what it is, it's a roguelite deck builder point 'em up that uses the visuals and themes from card games such as poker. I think just only poker. Make no mistake though, this is not a poker game. There's no betting, bluffing, or gambling or anything involved. In fact, I would say its core gameplay is more akin to something like Inscription. You build hands based on the standard poker scoring hands to score points. Each hand has an amount of chips it scores and a multiplier value that, well, it multiplies the chips. Each card also adds its value to the number of chips to be multiplied and scored. Overall, simple enough. Play good hands with valuable cards, and you win. To a point. Joker cards. They are plastered all over the promotional materials, trailers, everything else. These are the game changers. There are 150 different Joker variants to be found throughout the game. Every Joker has a unique ability ranging from adding some chips if a certain hand is played to like duplicating another Joker if you sell it after a couple rounds. Some are more useful than others. I find a lot of Joker cards coming through my runs that seem so incredibly niche that I may never use them. And with only 5 Joker slots, you have to pick and choose what power-ups you want. All of this is done mainly from the shop. In between rounds, you have an opportunity to spend money you've gained, whether that be through beating a round, having extra hands available to play, interest, or Joker abilities. This is where the hard to master part comes through. Along with 150 different Jokers that lend their powers to a vast number of potential builds, in the shop, you can also purchase planet cards that upgrade a hand type of your choice to give more chips and molt, tarot cards that can do a whole range of stuff, which we'll talk about later, sets of regular cards that can be added to your deck, spectral cards that are like a more powerful set of tarot cards, again, we'll discuss that later, and vouchers that give you passive upgrades for the run. What I really appreciate about how the money in the shop work is that the values aren't bloated. You start with $4, and odds are by the end of the first ante, you'll have gained a gross of only about 15 to 20, depending on how you, play your cards. With such low values of money gained, every dollar actually feels worth something. The funny number going up feels like an accomplishment. And with individual cards and packs being worth a significant portion of a round's winnings, there's some real money management that needs to take place. It always sucks in games when currency reaches a point of like insanely high numbers that in order to keep this hypothetical game balanced, it has introduced artificial inflation. Like when you start a game spending $20 on an item and then by the end of the game, you're spending $2,000 for the same item because you were able to gain so much and the game had to compensate for that so it doesn't get too easy. It makes it feel less worth it. This doesn't happen in Balatro. I think the highest amount of money I had was like 150, 110, somewhere around that range in like one run, but it didn't matter because I spent it all on rerolls to upgrade a Joker. Playing cards that could be acquired from the shop have a pretty high chance of having an enhancement of some sort. These come in two forms that I know of. A card enhancement and a seal. There might be more, but I'm kind of late to the party, so I haven't been playing all that long, despite what the intro skit says. In fact, I didn't even own it on Steam until this week when I started shooting this video. I actually got it on mobile first as like a little time waster thing for like if I'm on break at work or whatever like that. Anyway, enhancements. Both types have a distinct set of upgrades. Full card enhancements give upgrades like adding extra chips to its value or making the card like add $5 if you have it in your hand, but not play it as an active card. They get weird. Seals give other bonuses, like giving you a tarot card when you discard the card it's on. I feel like I'm saying card a lot, but there's really no other words I can use. Or a seal bonus can re-trigger a card, letting its chips or other powers or whatever go again to get re-added to your total score. Cards can only have one enhancement and one seal, but they can have one of each at the same time. Trying to add a new enhancement or a new seal will just replace the original one that was on the card. Tarot and Spectral cards are one-use consumable upgrades that have a wide range of abilities. Tarots can do stuff like doubling the money you have, destroying cards you don't want in your deck, or like changing the suit of if you selected cards, or enhancing a chosen card. Among the abilities of Spectral cards are to be able to sacrifice a random card to give a few enhanced cards in one move, to create a random Joker of varying quality, add some high potency enhancements to a card, or add a seal to a chosen card. Keep in mind these are only a few examples. I don't want to get super in depth on the specifics because discovery is half the fun. All these different cards, abilities, jokers, upgrades, and whatever else are what make this game as compelling as it is. You may have a set build halfway through the run, but get a few cards and joker draws that make you want to completely change your strategy mid-run. The voucher upgrades, which are really the only permanent run upgrades, are pretty general, so you can do that, no problem. There's just so much to discover and play with and try out. Not to mention the 15 decks, 8 difficulty stakes, and 30 boss blind effects. I didn't talk about the bosses. So, okay, every ante has 3 rounds. The small blind, the big blind, and the boss blind. Every ante also has a base value used for the score to beat during the round. For example, ante 1 is 300, and the small blind is like 1 times that value, big blind is 1.5 times, and the boss value is 2 times. Typically. The boss blind also has some randomly selected ability to screw the player over. Some won't be that terrible, like the psychic, which just requires you to play 5 cards each hand or they won't be scored. And some are evil. Just evil, like the plant. Fuck the plant. All my homies hate the plant. Balatro says the boss blind is random, but I don't believe it for a second. I am certain that it analyzes your build. I don't know how, but I'm certain it does. Whether it looks at the amount of cards you have or the type of jokers you use, it seems like every single time I've got a good face card build going, the plant pops up and I lose! If you haven't guessed yet, the plant's ability is to debuff all face cards, which makes it so they don't score points and none of their powers go, and the only points that actually get scored are based on the actual hand you played. So yeah, that one sucks, but it's great. It shakes up the gameplay every couple of rounds to really test your build or just destroy you. And by nature of a roguelite that leans heavily into RNG, that's just gonna happen sometimes. If it were any other game, I might get annoyed at how much RNG plays a part in it, but it's centered around the concept of poker, and poker is very heavily an RNG-based game. Yes, I know you can get good at poker, but there's a limit, okay? You can be the best poker player in the world, and there is still a possibility, albeit very small, that you just never get dealt a good hand ever again. So it works. Sometimes in cards, you just lose. And while it's frustrating in the moment, I quite like that. The game itself is also perfectly made. It runs incredibly well, and I haven't had a single glitch or bug, which is pretty damn cool. And the UI lends itself pretty easily to, I'm pretty sure, every playstyle. At least it feels great to play on PC and mobile, but based on how the game is laid out, I'm sure it also plays great on controller. There are a couple things that I wish the game had, namely just cross-saving and a sort of custom or sandbox mode so I could try out different builds that I wouldn't want to try out in an actual run. But really, I mean, that's all I've got to say. It's just a lot of fun, and every single mechanic, every single bit of this game gets added together, and not only is it greater than the sum of its parts, it is leagues beyond the sum of its parts. It's fantastic. It's such a fun game. Almost every time I see somebody that says, oh, this game doesn't look fun at all, and then they try it and they're like, holy shit, this game is the greatest thing ever, it's because they played it. Watching videos about it, listening to somebody talk about it, it's not gonna do it enough justice. You just gotta play it for yourself. Buy it on Steam, give it an hour, just an hour. You don't need any more than that. If you don't like it, refund it. Steam has a great refund policy. But I'm willing to bet at least 70% of the people that were skeptical about it, try it anyway, are not going to be refunding it because it is fucking addicting. No, seriously, it is. That skit at the beginning, while it was a joke, it wasn't really a joke. Like, I have been addicted to this game, truly. And I mean, if you've been around the channel, you know the problems I have with Cookie Clicker. If I'm not careful in life, I could probably be a gambling addict. It runs in the family, but no, it's a really, really, really fun game. But that's really all I have for you today. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed my rant about this game, and I really hope you did, maybe consider subscribing. I do more of this stuff. I do other things too. I stream here and on Twitch. I don't know. I like video games. I play a lot of video games. Either way, don't play Balatro. Or do. It's not like I can stop you. But have a great day. Take care of yourself. And I'll see you next time.